Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, Warpaint Off-Road. Today is the day. I'm gonna show you guys how to install the best truss that you can get for your Superduty Dana 60 swap. Now we put Superduty 60s in everything. It is the junkyard axle swap of choice. I've done other videos that talk about why you want this axle, what year you're gonna want, especially for your particular ride. Today, I'm gonna show you why Artec is the truss that you're gonna want. Let's get to it. Now in my last video, you guys saw me clean off this Superduty Dana 60. That is a job within itself, and if you do it right, it doesn't take all that long, maybe about a day's worth of work, especially if you've never done it before. But you're gonna end up with a nice, shiny steel axle. This one's no longer shiny. Guys, I highly advise you to paint the top tube of your axle before you weld on your truss. Now I know what you're thinking. If you guys paint an axle, you can't weld to it. There are weldable spray paints out there that are super durable that allow you to weld through them, and I highly recommend them because normal spray paint, you can't weld through it. Normal spray paint is gonna burn off even if you weld like the backside of a piece of steel that you're welding to, and it doesn't protect it anymore. As you can see here, I painted the inside bottom pieces of the truss. The things that once it's welded onto this axle, you're never gonna see again. It just makes it easier to protect that stuff and make sure that you have it all painted and protected from the elements. So Artec's swap truss for the JK/JL JT is made out of 3/16 as well as 1/4 inch in some places to keep it as light as possible, but also as strong as possible. Their Apex design, which is fairly new, also creates a ton of strength with 70% less welding. That means that if you're gonna have a shop install your truss, it's gonna take them hours less in labor, which is gonna be awesome for your pocket, and it's also gonna be a little bit lighter than it would normally be. It's time to install the first piece of our truss on our axle. It's a really good idea when you're installing your truss to actually place all of the pieces on the axle, make sure everything works, everything is clearanced properly, and everything fits. Then you can basically disassemble it to put it back on and weld it in the proper pieces. So inside your box with your truss, you're actually gonna have two tabs that look like this. They actually basically need to slide into the piece I just showed you a second ago, but you need to pay close attention because one of them is taller than the other one. So simply gonna take the taller one, put it closer to the diff, line it up in those slots. Gonna do the same thing with the smaller one. Put it on the side closer to the end of the axle, drop it in, just kind of drop it on top of the axle tube. Now the thing that makes this truss nice is the fact that you're not actually welding all along this top plate here. It's bent, and then because of its Apex design, it winds up actually adding a lot of strength. That plus all the dimple cuts in here, those aren't just for going fast, those are actually providing more strength. If you've ever installed somebody else's truss, it basically comes with two sides, the top plate, and a bunch of supporting pieces all the way through it. And it's just a ton more welding, and it's kind of even hard to get it lined up on the axle. This one just drops on. Then because of the contours that are cut up here and the contours of the Dana 60, it just slides into place. And then because the way that this is actually laser cut with 3D models directly from Ford and Dana about how to make these things for these axles, everything just fits, keys into place, lines itself up, nothing for you to worry about. Now the next piece we're gonna install on the axle is actually gonna be your spring perch. Now the spring perch from the passenger side to the driver's side is a little bit different, so you gotta make sure you're doing it correctly. This is how you can tell. The passenger side spring perch that faces the C on the outside of the axle actually has two pieces, right? The front side as well as the back side are both shaped as basically a rectangle. The piece on the other side of the axle for the driver's side shaped a little differently. We'll talk about why when we get over there. We're gonna take this piece, make sure that these two notches they're not on the other side, make sure they are facing the rear of the axle, because that'll help you key in and lock in your control arm mounts as well as your shock brackets. And then we're going to take the plate that's going to be our spring perch. Now we know this is the one for the passenger side because it has this notch cut out. That's going to be for your track bar bracket. You're going to take these little notches here, drop them into these notches on the far edge, and it just keys together. Now, one of the awesome things that Artec did when they made this truss in sections like that is it basically helps you lock everything in, key it, and then align it into place so that when you set your pinion angle, your spring angle is going to be perfect. My rig is going to be a little bit different. The Rock Gobbler CJ5 is going to be on coilovers, and I'm going to use that to probably be my bump stop. But if you're putting this on your JK, JL, or JT, this is what you're going to want to do to set it up. With your axle on jack stands, you're going to want to use a digital angle finder similar to this one. Put it underneath the axle on the floor, directly underneath the C. Zero it out. Now with that zeroed out with the angle of the floor, I'm going to pick it up and we're going to put it directly on top of the C. And you can see I'm sitting there at 7 degrees. Because of the pinion angle and the C, that's where things get a little bit complicated, and I've explained it in other videos about how to align your Jeep, but that's the biggest problem when you start to lift a factory Jeep with a factory axle with factory control arms. Even if they're adjustable, what winds up happening is your pinion angle as you lift the vehicle has to rise in order to keep your drive shaft aligned correctly. When you keep your drive shaft aligned correctly and lean that axle forward, it feels real loose and flighty all over the road. Another one of the benefits of this Super Duty is that it has more separation of those two angles between your pinion and your C. And it'll allow you to run 6-7 degrees of caster angle, which gives you that nice ride quality, but also gives you a good pinion angle. One more box checked for the Super Duty Dana 60 axle swap. Now that that caster angle is set, I'm able to take that spring bucket and actually lean it forward or backwards, making sure that the spring angle will be perfect when this goes under the rig. The driver's side is super simple if you cut your axle up and you cleaned it correctly. You had to cut a bunch of that casting off. I'll show you why in just a second. You'll notice that this piece, again, facing that axle C, just like we did on the passenger side, isn't a perfect rectangle. It actually has this notch cut out in the front as well as in the back. This piece is also going to be shaped a little bit differently. This is the piece that we just put on the other side directly on top. Well, this piece has this notch section cut out. The reason it has that is actually going to be for your track bar bracket on your JK, JL, or JT to provide enough clearance while you're compressing the suspension. Sometimes it can be a little bit easier to piece these two sections together before you place it on the axle. And once again, these two tabs right here are going to go into these slots on the other piece. As you can see here, this piece was cut and shaped differently from the passenger side so it could fit up and over the casting that you trimmed away. I also had enough trimmed away in this case to weld it to the axle tube and not have it interfere. Make sure you set your caster angle again on the driver's side, angle your spring perch so that it works out perfectly. Now with everything placed on the axle, it's time to weld her up. The first thing I'm going to do is tack weld it into position. Be sure to put those tacks in places where they can easily be removed if you have to make adjustments. Once you're happy with the fitment, it's time to finish weld it in. I start welding the mild steel axle tube to the truss and I skip around the axle, making sure the axle cools and doesn't overheat to avoid warping it. So after skipping around and welding everything on the long side of the axle tube basically to the tube, now it's time to sit there and weld the perch in. So we're gonna weld, you can see how we kind of went down through here. We're gonna weld all the way across, do the same thing on the other side. The only thing we have left to do is come back down and make that long weld. It's pretty difficult to warp these Super Duty Dana 60s. You wanna make sure that you don't. So we're gonna err on the side of caution, break it into a couple of different sections, skip around the axle, get it done. With about half of it welded, we'll jump to the other side, do the other half. Then I'm gonna jump to the top, start welding that to that long side of the truss. Again, just keeping myself skipping around, keeping that heat, not concentrated in one area. And with all that welded in, it's time to now weld our truss to our cast differential. Now this is probably the most intimidating part of your axle build, but it's actually not all that difficult. So you're gonna have to do it to weld on your high steer arms later. We gotta do it now to weld on our truss and make it super strong. There's no point in installing a truss if you don't attach it to your diff. Here's how you're gonna do it. I like to use MAP gas because it burns hotter than the blue tank, which is propane. It'll heat it up faster. What you're gonna wind up doing is actually heating up the cast section of your axle. The reason you wanna do that is because cast steel heats up much slower and cools down much slower than mild steel. So in order to get your penetration from your weld, you have to preheat it. Your mild steel, you don't have to worry about it until you've welded it. Once it gets up to about 300-400 degrees, that cast is ready. Then you wanna lay your bead and weld it. But once you're done, you need to cool it down properly in order to make sure that the weld, the mild steel, and the cast steel all cool down at about the same rate. Because if they don't, you can pull on that weld and crack it. There's a couple different ways to do that. But let's get that weld in there, let's get it heated up, and then I'll show you how to cool it down. So after heating that cast to between 300 and 400 degrees, confirming that with an infrared temperature gun, it's once again time to weld her up. Now, in order to prevent your weld from cracking, you're gonna monitor the cast, the weld, and the mild steel. Keep them all within 50 degrees of each other. If anything's cooling down too quickly, reheat it with the MAP gas, cool it all the way down to about 200 degrees. Then you can let nature do its thing. It's also a good idea while you're doing all this welding and heating to your cast differential that you haven't re-geared your axle yet. Things like your inner axle seals are likely to get too hot. You can melt them down a little bit. So it's easier to make sure you wait to re-gear it till after you've done your truss. Basically, with everything welded all the way across, all that cast welded, same thing on the other side. There's two brackets for the lower control arms. Driver side is going to be different than the passenger side. If you'll notice, this is the passenger side bracket and it's kind of square, right? It has our 90-degree bends in it. It's going to key in to this slot, not the inner one. That's for our shock mount. It's going to key into this slot with that long section. Basically, just sit on the axle just like that. That's going to allow the curvature on this to angle it correctly and set it up. The driver's side bracket mounts the exact same way on that outer bracket, but because of this cast section down here, you'll notice that it's curved and angled in on the top. Now these brackets need to be welded down here in the bottom, right on both sides, also fully welded to the axle tube. I like to weld them inside and on the outside. That just makes sure that they have enough strength for what you're gonna put them through with a super heavy axle underneath your Jeep with big tires off-road. Just like I did with the truss pieces, this is no different. We're gonna line it up, tack it into place, then finish weld it once I'm happy with the fitment, remembering to take my time and not overheat the axle tube. With that bracket fully welded in, it would be time to install our shock mount. Now your shock mount on the passenger side has a nub that sticks off toward the passenger side. Driver side would be the opposite. Just keys into that remaining slot, sits nice and level like that on the axle, and gets burned in. One of the things we haven't talked about yet is the spring bucket for your coil spring. Because this is a swap kit, you would want to install this if you're going to run a coil spring. I'm not going to run a coil spring, so I'm going to hold off, but the process is pretty simple. There's a little square hole cut inside this top plate, and there's a little nub here that fits in it. Just basically going to drop it in. It'll sit nice and flat. Then you're going to take this piece here, kind of key it in on that opening. You're going to set it down on top, and as you can see, all the gaps and edges are set correctly for you to fully weld it in. You would want to go all the way around the top as well as the bottom. Now, if you were putting in a coil spring, you would have to remove this. That part is the factory coil spring mount on the Super Duty axle. That just simply gets cut off ground flat. I kept it because I do have the option of mounting my coil over to that instead of putting it in the shock mount on the back above the lower control arm. We'll have to see which way I go. I'm not sure yet, which is why I'm going to hold off on installing that, but you get the point. Once you know how to weld all this stuff and key it all together, it all goes together very simply. You almost can't screw it up. Guys, Artec has pretty much thought of everything when it comes to this kit, installing it on your axle and swapping it into your ride. Here's where one of the big differences is, depending upon whether you have a JK or a JL or a JT. That is with your track bar mount. Now the track bar mount just keys together. It's very simple. Basically, you take this piece, which needs some finish welding, kind of like those lower control arm brackets, but you'll notice that there's a spot cut into it here and another one here. You're gonna basically take the other piece that came with it and take those nubs and fit them into those spots. Once they are keyed in and fit in, you basically have your track bar bracket. Obviously this gets fully welded all the way around, and then it fits onto the axle. And that's the difference. This piece is notched out for the curvature of the axle tube. And then you have this section here that was notched out on our plate for our coil bucket. You're gonna want it all the way over into that place, as far over as you can get it in that notch. The reason you do that is the track bar length is a little bit different on the JL JT. But if you're putting it in a JKU, you're gonna need a custom track bar anyway. You want it to be as long as possible so that it matches your drag link. You don't wind up ending up with bump steer. So it's really not a bad idea. Slide it all the way over. Now there are some subtle differences with the upper control arm brackets. You guys might be running a 3-link and the upper mount could be for a Heim, could be for a bushing. But at this point, after you've put everything together, just realize that those also key into spots. And if you ordered the right upper bracket for your rig and your control arms, it's very simple and self-explanatory, just like the rest of it. So guys, congratulations, you have welded on your swap truss. That is a really big deal when it comes to getting your axle under your rig. As I said earlier in this video, I'm gonna be putting this underneath the Rock Gobbler CJ5 build, and you're gonna have to see how I adapt it to it. But it's pretty simple. Artec makes a lot of stuff that you can buy as builder parts and make them work for your rig. But just in case you're not quite there with that fabrication yet, doing something like this and setting it up so all the suspension mounts all line up and work, guys, it doesn't get any better than that with Artec customer support if you have any questions. Make sure you subscribe to Warpaint Off-Road, make sure you don't miss anything that's coming, and make sure you get out there and you build something.